This week on EV Rider, we're going to take you for a spin in what's gotta be the most unique Founders Edition Cybertruck in Northeast Florida. This EV Rider episode is a co-production with AutomotiveAddicts.com. AutomotiveAddicts.com offers expert reviews and industry news. Now, this particular Founders Edition Cybertruck, as you can see, has been heavily customized. It's been up to Atlanta, Georgia to Sportline, where it got the T-Max gloss black paint protection film and, of course, these gorgeous 24-inch wheels. What you're looking at are CTM 24-inch mono black gloss wheels. By now, the majority of EV enthusiasts know Tesla's Cybertruck comes standard with an unpainted stainless steel body. But Winston, who lives in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, wanted something extra special, so he turned to Sportline up in Atlanta. I'll put a link to Sportline's website in the description field for anyone that wants to learn more about the customization options they offer, but really, I was just anxious to get it on the road and find out what the Cybertruck is like to drive, along with Automotive Addicts publisher Malcolm Hogan. So it's my very first time in a Cybertruck. Couple quick observations right out of the gate. The screen is gorgeous. The clarity in this screen, beautiful. I haven't even driven the Cybertruck yet, but Malcolm, you've had some quality time with it this morning. What are your first impressions?
It's a big vehicle. My first impression is, of course, when you start off the steering being all electric steering, not connected to the vehicle, and of course the turning radius is all electronic. So, I mean, as far as turning the wheel, you're doing very minuscule turns and you get a large input of turning radius. That's something you have to get used to, which isn't that bad after you get used to it for a while. I've been driving it for quite a few miles, but it's something that's definitely gonna be an attention getter for people that jump in this vehicle and drive it.
When you don't have a mechanical steering rack,
sure,
the software engineers can make the radius, the turn of the wheel, as tight as they want. And really, it's just perception what we're used to. Are we used to 2 full turns or a half turn?
Right.
And I think that's going to be one of the things that really sets the Cybertruck apart, is how nimble it will feel despite its size due to that type of steering.
Yeah, my first brush with that was actually Infiniti. Infiniti had it quite some time ago in some of the new Q50s, Q60s, but since then they've gone to a system where it doesn't have a backup or anything like that, like the Infiniti did. So that if that system failed, it actually had a clutch mechanism that would close and actually have a physical connection. This vehicle has no physical connection. It's just all electronic. Steer by wire, of course. But it's an interesting thing, and like I said, it takes a little bit to get used to, but once you do get used to it, it seems very natural. You just have to put in your mind that you cannot turn this wheel that much, or else you'll end up in the next lane, hitting somebody or in a ditch.
Right.
But otherwise, the way the vehicle feels, it is initially big. I thought it would drive more heavy than it does, but of course, with that instantaneous torque and all this power this thing has, you know, kind of defeats that.
Of course, one of this pickup truck's big tricks is its acceleration. Every Cybertruck fan probably has seen the video that Tesla released of the quarter-mile drag strip race with a Cybertruck towing a Porsche 911 and beating a 911. Now, of course, what Tesla doesn't tell you is if they had let that camera go just a little bit longer, the Porsche would have caught up and passed in another second or so. But off the line, this thing is pretty tough to beat no matter what you get.
Yeah, for such a big and heavy vehicle, it's kind of surprising. Driving wise, it takes a while to get used to, you know, the size of the vehicle, the length of it. You know, with the 4-wheel steering, you think it has the turning radius is very sharp. But in some circumstances, you have to realize that's still a long wheelbase. You gotta swing this thing around. But overall, I think Tesla did a okay job for building something that's just outrageous, different from everything on the road. It's basically a rolling car show. Everywhere you go, people are staring at you, thumbs up or even thumbs down. I had some people just honking at me just because. Right, I mean, I didn't cut them off or anything. They're just like, oh, that just looks interesting. I'm gonna get you.
Right. Well, listen, you have reviewed so many pickup trucks in your career.
Sure.
I mean, you've been doing Automotive Addicts for well over a decade now. Let's talk about it as an actual pickup truck. How's it compared to an F-150? How's it compared to, say, another contemporary, a Rivian?
Yeah, nobody's gonna buy this for the purpose of being a pickup truck. I don't think. It just so happens to be a pickup truck, but like I said, it's just something so different, so far out. F-150 guys are not gonna cross shop this. And like I said, unless they want something just totally different that's gonna draw attention. It's a niche product.
Well, a couple quick thoughts from my perspective. You mentioned the F-150. I have driven the F-150 Lightning, which of course is the EV counterpart of the gas and diesel F-150, and I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a couple cross shoppers. And where I will say the F-150 Lightning excels is in being a traditional pickup. In other words, towing capacity. It's got a really slick implementation of trailer hitch. It's got a camera and a sensor that allows it to basically automate the hitch process. So things like that, I think people are going to look at for the Cybertruck as well, because I do think, especially for example here in Jacksonville, you're probably going to see people tow their boats to the intercoastal, to jump into the Atlantic, things of that nature. And
Sure.
For short towing, this thing is a beast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, they have that downfall of electric vehicles towing large loads over long distance. You're not gonna, go cross country with this, towing something huge. But it's there. You can tow small items quite a distance. I think you've proven that with your Mustang Mach-E. So
Yeah, and I'd push back on that because, to your point, I mean, I've towed more than 500 miles in the Mach-E with just a motorcycle, but especially for Cybertruck owners that consider that extended battery, there are going to be a good number of them, I think, that will be towing their campers and their boats and motorcycles and such. Looking at the numbers, Tesla claims the top-tier Cybertruck can tow up to 11,000 pounds and has a maximum payload of 2,500 pounds. Minus a tow load, Tesla says it has a range of up to 340 miles and when charging can add up to 136 miles of range in 15 minutes under ideal conditions. The Cybertruck is also going to be a beast at work site or during power outages. This thing can put out 9.6 kilowatts of bidirectional power. So that means, for example, during a power outage, you would basically be able to power your entire home, including the fridge and running the central air conditioning. Now, when you want to get away from it all and go off-road, this thing has up to 17 inches of clearance. The owner's son, Vincent, has been exposed to plenty of vehicles, including his dad's Toyota Tundra. Vincent says the Cybertruck steer-by-wire is his favorite feature.
As far as the coolest thing about the Cybertruck that I think everyone would find cool would probably be the steering. Because it's super touchy, but not in a bad way. It's almost like the exact movements you make with your hand on the steering wheel kind of come out with the car, since it's four-wheel drive and everything.
And while the attention the Cybertruck draws is fun, there's also an occasional downside.
Yeah, the looks that it gets are sometimes concerning, like they're going out the window, taking photos on the highway.
And speaking of the highway, it's finally my turn to take the wheel. All right, Malcolm and I have switched places. Malcolm, my very first thought, wow, this steering is amazing. Unlike anything I've ever experienced. Having steering that's this tight on such a large vehicle, it's something.
Yeah, as you get to drive it, you start to figure out some of the, I don't want to say it's cutting corners, but the build quality. With me experiencing so many different cars, I get to experience the build quality of, new vehicles, and I think this drops just a slot below a lot of other mainstream vehicles. But overall, for something being so different, it's still okay.
Well, since you brought up build quality and other vehicles, give me an example of one that you think might be better built.
I mean, for instance, if you're going truck to truck, an EV truck, the Ford F-150 Lightning, right off the bat, it's totally built better than this. You can tell as far as the panels.
One of the things I find interesting that Tesla did, I'm sure on purpose, it's got a brawny sound to it. So unlike say a Model 3, when you decelerate, you really hear and feel it with this car, which makes sense. I mean, it's a truck, so I think in some ways they may have engineered a little additional sound for the acceleration and the deceleration because it's a truck.
Yeah, you do get a lot of feedback from the motors. That's something that's very apparent.
But I think that's something we're going to see more and more. The idea of a silent EV has its place for sure, but I'm not sure truck buyers want total silence.
That is correct. I think that's done by purpose, by Tesla, and not isolating you totally from the road like a luxury car would.
Yeah, and I recently had an opportunity to drive a Hummer EV, and direct comparison to the Hummer, in a lot of ways they are somewhat similar. I mean, styling obviously is totally different, but one approach that they've both taken is four-wheel steering to go ahead and still be able to have a tight turning radius despite the heft of these vehicles.
Yeah, that's something I think was necessary just because of how long and how big these vehicles are. You're going to need that rear wheel steering. That's, something that's basically required of a vehicle this big. And the technology is there to sort things out. And this one is very seamless as you get used to that steer-by-wire system.
So given we have massive 24-inch tires on this thing, I am impressed at how composed and quiet it still manages to be here on Butler Boulevard, which is an interstate-like road in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I was surprised as well having big wheels like that. But kudos to the owner for making something that's almost polarizing to a lot of people into something that's unique for himself. And, showing off his character, I guess you would say, in a sense, but I think it looks kind of cool in some ways.
I agree. I think it totally paid off. I mean, both of us at this point have seen a good number of Cybertrucks here on the first coast of Florida, and I'll tell you, seeing this in a high gloss black with these custom wheels, it's just stunning, and I really think it's something that Tesla should take notice of, and I guess they already are, because they are already offering a factory wrap option for this.
You drive this thing down the road, everybody's going to be looking at you. Why not make it, unique to yourself, your personality, and show off a little in a space-age electric vehicle. Kudos to Elon Musk for even thinking of something like this and actually doing it.
Well, and one of the questions, and it's tough to answer so early in this product's lifespan, but do you think the design is iconic? And what I mean by that, there's certain designs that we've seen throughout history that even if they weren't particularly popular on day one, they've withstood the test of time. And today, for example, a 59 Cadillac, everybody is still mesmerized by. Does this design meet that level?
Only time will tell. Something like this, because it is so unique, I think it will stand the test of time. But I think over time, maybe in a few years, it will have that, that luster appeal, that initial spark kind of die out, I think. Don't quote me on that, because like I said, it is something that no other vehicle on the road looks like. Some people hate it or love it. It's nothing really in between with this vehicle.
Yeah, no question about it. It's been a long time since we've seen any vehicle come out that grabs this much attention. I don't care if you're talking about a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a McLaren.
Oh yeah.
And of course, more EV pickups are on the way. Ram is about to get going, and the Silverado is finally hitting the market in somewhat substantial numbers. So what I would say to EV rider viewers is, I want to know what you guys think. Did Tesla nail it with the Cybertruck? Would you consider it over an F-150 Lightning or a Silverado EV or a Hummer or a Rivian EV? Now, one area where the Cybertruck does definitely fall behind some EV pickups is the frunk. While it's very stylish, it's not very big. At the time of this recording, the base price of a Cybertruck started around $61,000, and if you wanted to jump up to the Cyber Beast mode, that would start around $100,000. But keep in mind, Tesla prices are constantly being updated. Tesla says Cybertrucks with the Beast trim can hit 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, which, if you think about it, for a vehicle of this size is just incredible. Thanks so much for watching this episode of EV Rider, and if you've enjoyed it, please be sure to give this video a like, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to the EV Rider YouTube channel so I can bring you more adventures in EV motoring and more videos with Teslas like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.